Hi guys, Cindy Beyer here with Tyler Green. And did you know that beer makes you feel like you should feel when you're not drinking beer? But did you know that you could use beer and massage your body with a can of beer?
I did not know that.
Well, today, as our final episode in our Get a Six-Pack with a Six-Pack series, we're going to walk you through how to use a can of beer to release your calves, hamstrings, quads, glutes, neck and shoulders, and forearm. So it, just like anything else, there's a little bit of a workout component to it, but grab a can of beer. You're going to only need one, probably because you've already drank through the other 5 out of your 6-pack, but you're only going to need one for today. If you wanted a bonus one, you can use it just to drink from as you're going because you might get thirsty. Or if you don't have access to a can of beer, can of soup works really well for the same self-massage that you can do. Bottles of water, not so much. You need something that's has a little bit sharper of an edge to it. But let's get going.
Okay.
Ready? All right, so we're going to start with our calves. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the can of beer and you're going to flip it to the side. Here's the bonus. If the beer can is cold, what's even better about that, you're creating kind of like a cryogenic environment around the muscle that you're massaging. So when it gets cold, then you release it from the cold and it gets warm again. It's creating this contraction and release of the blood flow into that area. So to start, we're going to take the can of beer on its side. Now, you're going to place your ankle on it just behind where your Achilles tendon is. Then what you're going to do from here is you're going to use your arms and you're going to leverage yourself up to press further down into that can. All right? Then you're going to lower back down. The key piece on this is using your own body to create that leverage and that pressure down onto the can of beer. Take your ankle now and turn it out slightly so you're still in that same spot, and you're going to press up again. So I'm lifting my hips up, but I'm keeping pressing down, and I need to push my foot towards the floor a little bit, and then I'm going to lower down. Then I'm going to turn my foot so my ankle is turning inward, and I'm going to do that one more time. You can do this multiple times in the same location. We're just going to move up the back of the leg and repeat it. So we're not doing a effect. We're not rolling the can of beer. Could you do that? Yes. But what I'm doing is going to be much more effective. It's kind of more like a trick release. So now move your body down towards your foot a little bit more so the can of beer moves up your calf. So then you're going to do the same thing. If you can't support yourself with your arms straight, you can do it down onto your forearms, and that's perfectly okay. And I think Tyler's going to go there. But either way, you're going to lift your hips up and push your weight down into the back of that can. Then you're going to lower down. Then you're going to turn the foot and the ankle out to the side and do that again. So for purposes of today, because I want to hit different areas of the body, I'm going to just do a couple of different points and a couple of different times on each area so that you can get the full effect of what you could do. If you notice a specific point on the body that's tight when the can of beer is there, go back to it later after the video is over. Now, move down a little further. So you're further up the calf. So this is my third point. Again, all I'm going to do is take my hands behind me, lift my hips up and press down into that beer. I'm kind of trying to press my heel towards the floor. It is a little bit of a workout while you're doing a massage, but isn't this a cool way of doing a massage with a can of beer? Who here's, Tyler, have you ever gotten tight on your body and you're like, shoot, I wish I had Cindy around to kind of trigger point release it or something? This is a great way. Who knew you could just use a can of beer just to do it? You don't have to go and spend money on all of those massagers that you can get at the store. So turn your foot out to the side and lift, and then lower down. Then turn your foot onto the inside. So I'm going from the center to the out to the in on this. Then I'm going to lift up again. And again, it all depends on the leverage that you push. So I'm using my own body weight, my hips lifting to create the pressure onto that can. And then I'm going to come back down. You can tell why water wouldn't really work. All right, so now I'm going to take that can and I'm going to move it up higher onto my hamstring. So we're going to do the same thing here. Now, granted, because the hamstring's a bigger muscle, I tend to like to turn the can slightly more. So because this can has a little small top on it, I want that part digging into the back of my hamstring. So I'm going to point it so that hits right dead smack into the center part of my leg here. You can play around with its location if you want. And you lift yourself up and you press. So on here, I have to get much higher than that. So I'm going to lift and push down. And at the same time, I'm really anchoring myself down into that can. Press your foot down in the back of your leg. Then come back down. Then you're going to turn out. And you're going to do that again. So this is not the most ideal way of getting your hamstring, but at least it can hit it a little bit. Good. And then back down, and then turn in with the hip and do that again. You're getting a little bit of workout while you're trying to do a massage. What's awesome is that this will pinpoint exact spots of your leg where you have little trigger points that you need released. All right, so now what we're going to do from here is we're going to take the can of beer and move it to the front of the body. You can lay down for a moment, sort of. You can sit down. You don't have to lift anymore. So again, all I'm going to do from here is I want to get the edge, whatever edge I want, either the top or the bottom edge. I like the smaller point because this one has a smaller top. So I like getting the smallest surface area on there. And what you're going to do from here is I'm going to actually bend my knees. And then I'm going to go into a half roll back as I press that part of the can into my leg, into my quad. You don't have to roll all the way down. Oh, you fell. Good. And come up. So go into the middle part of your quad right now. Then you move it to a different area along the leg. You can play around with where that beer is, but you want to create that leverage. So I'm going to press my hand, press my hand into the beer and that edge right into there. So you can find, like finding the angle of it makes a difference. You find that spot and you roll back, but use your abs to press and hold. And then come back up. I have a really tender spot here. So I'm going to keep following that same train. And I'm going to roll back again. And if you want to, you can even go so far as straightening that leg out and bending it up and in to create better leverage, right? It doesn't matter where or what you're doing. It's just, can you use the beer as a tool to create a massage down your leg? Let's go to the outside because a lot of people have pain along the outside part of their leg, into their IT band, into their TFL. So we're going to start down towards the knee at the edge of where your IT band would be, and you're going to press that beer in there. But you are going to leverage by pushing yourself back. You see, I'm rolling backwards. I'm using my core to help me create a greater leverage into that point. And I'm going to do this massage. It's not really like a rolling massage, although that would feel good. I'm creating a trigger point release by pressing, using this beer can as a tool, and then come back up.
If it doesn't hurt, it doesn't matter. You still do it, and then you go on to the next one.
Yes. If it doesn't hurt where you're pressing, just continue to follow the same train track up the leg, right? Press, because you'll find a spot. It's just like if someone's giving you a massage, you can feel when they're really getting close, but also change the angle at which you have the can, right? I might have to turn a little bit of my body to get there, but it's finding that point that it feels good. Have you ever gone up against the wall, Tyler, and put your shoulder up against the wall because your neck or your shoulders were hurting? Yeah, so it's just kind of finding that angle. But feel free. I'm giving you permission today to find any tool that you have available, like a can of beer, and doing it. So I'm just slowly moving this up my quad because this is where I feel it. So I'm going to probably move up maybe one more time for just right now because my abs are getting a little bit tired. And then I'm going to go up one more here. I'm going to, again, leverage in. I'm like really jamming in and then rolling back. You can't really see the can of beer when my hand is there, but I'm trying to stabilize it there. Can you feel that at all?
Yeah.
All right, good. And come back up. All right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna just go to the other leg. All right, so from here, again, I'm starting just above the ankle into my calf, and the beer can is right underneath it. So what's gonna happen from here is I'm gonna lift my hips up and press that leg down into that can of beer. And then I'm gonna lower down. The bonus that you get with this massage, not just do you get the release, you get the cold temperature of the beer right on that muscle, but in addition to that, you're also getting some good body work. Now roll the hip out to the side, so you're going to the outside of that calf muscle on that leg. Lift and lower down, and then turn the hip in. And so you're getting all different sides, like a 360, almost a 360, just around that calf. Good. Now move down towards your feet a little further so the beer can comes up a little bit higher. If you don't have access to a beer can, you know what else would work really well with this? If you have little hand weights. Same idea, same concept. Like a 1 or 2 pound hand weight, you can do that there. Or even a can of soup, you're gonna press your hips up. So if my hips are down, I don't get enough leverage. I have to really lift my hips up. Just make sure you don't sink into the back of your knee. I hyperextend my knees, so I have to be careful of that. Lower down, turn the hip out, lift the hips up again. Who knew that you could get so much benefit out of a can of beer? Y'all learned that this week with all of the different versions, turn the leg in, of our beer workouts, right? This is pretty fun, huh? I think it is. Good. I got a message the other week after our stretch one on Saturday last week, scoot down a little bit further, from a buddy, an old high school friend of mine, Levi Johnson. And he said to me, go ahead and lift the hips up. He's like, oh my gosh, I about died while I was doing your stretch workout on Saturday last week. And it was so awesome because who knew that just stretching and just moving your body could be that challenging? And it really is, right? We're using very little of anything. I'm just bringing in some fun tools like cans of beer or balls. What else have I done? Toilet paper, lots of different things. And if you haven't seen it, one more here, turn the leg in. If you haven't seen my other workouts, I would encourage you to go over to the YouTube channel. I have the link in my description above, and go and take a look at our other videos. They're always up there for you to find. That way you don't have to scroll through my Facebook page.
Maybe if I find a spot, I just remember where it is and then come back to it after we go through the whole thing.
Yeah, unless you feel like staying there while I keep going.
No, I'll keep going. I'll find
Yeah,
it.
so he wants to remember where it was tender so we can go back there because I'm kind of going quickly
I'll go back there.
on this. All right, so now when you go to the hamstring, this is what I was saying. You can find different spots. So on the other side, we did it the same way we did the calf, but on this side, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you an alternate way of doing it. So I'm gonna have the can of beer upright, and I'm gonna take my hamstring, and I'm gonna press it down onto that. I gotta stabilize the beer can under my leg, and I'm gonna just press my leg into that can of beer, right? That's another way of doing it. So you wanna kind of leverage your body. So I'm not rolling backwards, I'm really pushing down into that can, and I feel that more intensely. So finding different ways of doing it and being creative. Don't be afraid to do it, but you don't have to sit there forever. I'm moving over it and moving off of it. So I'm pressing down, and then I'm lifting and moving, and I'm doing that again. So it's kind of like more of a dynamic trigger point release as opposed to press down with all your might. It's kind of press, release, and then press, but create that leverage. Your whole body can create the leverage that you need. You finding a spot?
Yep.
You know, do you guys have dogs? If you have a dog, have you ever sat there and scratched them? And then all of a sudden you find this one spot and their leg starts kicking like this. They're like, oh, yeah, right there, right there. That's kind of like what you're doing with this can of beer, right? So you can move that up more spots onto your hamstring. Now we're going to go back into our quad. So you're going to take that can of beer. I like mine flipped over and pressing down into that. I'm going to start down towards my knee, not on it. So I'm about probably an inch and a half higher than my knee when I press. And I'm gonna angle it in here, but I'm going to leverage by moving my body back so it creates a greater pressure as I push down. And then I'm gonna sit up. That way I also get some good ab work. So now I'm gonna go down. Again, I'm starting in the middle of the muscle. So meaning there's 4 quadricep muscles. I'm grabbing hold of the biggest one to get the biggest bang for the buck right now. But if my legs were really sore, and I'm just moving down, if my legs were really sore right now, I would probably find that the rectus femoris is not the culprit. Typically, it's going to be medialis or intermedialis or lateralis. So it's going to be one of the other 3. So I would have to get that quad, the large one, the rectus femoris, out of the way, going down. Now, let's go to the outside part. So on this one, I'm going to turn this way so you guys can see. On this one, I'm going to go towards the outside of my leg. So I'm going to start down here because I'm trying to hit where the IT band is. And then I'm going to press back here, leaning back. And see how I'm leaning back? Because if I just press here, I'm not getting enough. I want to lean back. Why? Because I can get my core involved to create that leverage. And then sit up. Then I move it down. Did you find a spot, Ty?
I'm looking for one.
You're looking for one. Very good. You know, you could use just about anything. Just make sure it's not super sharp, but something that your hands can easily hold. That's why a can of beer is great, because it's made for the size of your hand. So I'm going to press down, and I'm in a spot right here, and go down, and then I sit up. And then I'm going to go back again. See, I'm not holding it for very long. I'm moving in and out of that position. Now I'm going to go up a little bit further and just do one more here, because I want to give some time to get into the neck and shoulders and into the forearm today. One more on my quad here. Oh gosh, that's the tightest spot of my body right now. So I'm going to leverage down, press until you feel it kind of give, and then roll back. My abs are getting tired doing this. Good. And come up. All right, enough for the front side of the body. We're going to go into your neck and shoulders. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to take your can of beer, just place it down onto the floor, right? Then you're going to lay down so that it's positioned as best as you can up towards above your shoulder blade. So you kind of have to like wiggle around to find that spot. Then it's kind of like right at my shoulders here. Then what you're going to do is you're going to put your hand on top of the beer bottle and lift your hips up so you can press into that beer. You have to use this leverage from the hip lift or the bridge that we've done, or you can also just bring the arm up, and that will also create a spot, a pressure point. Do you feel that, Ty?
Yeah.
It feels good, huh?
Yeah.
He's just staying there. He likes these workouts. He likes these ones because it's not just exercising at that point. It feels like it's creating a greater benefit because you're releasing. So come back down. Then you can play around with where that is. I'm just going to do 2 more right here because it feels good. You have the ability to shift where you want that to be, but the key is we're not rolling over it. We're leveraging our body on top of it, so we're staying right into that one spot to create the best trigger point release. Do 1 more here. You can even circle that arm up and around or out to the side if you wanted to kind of play around. Now, what I'm finding here, if I bring my arm across my body and then I press my shoulder back into that can, I'm getting a really great pressure point in that spot. But my glutes and my hamstrings right now are getting, they're kind of talking to me. Then I'm going to lower down from there. I'm going to then sit up. You never knew that I didn't realize this was going to be so tiring.
This is good.
Then you're going to take the can. I'm facing this way again so that you can see where it's positioned under my shoulder, because if I'm laying the other way, you can't. So you're going to take the beer bottle, laying it on the floor, and you're going to place your shoulder. Again, I'm kind of coming up towards the upper part of my trap. But then in order for me to get the leverage, I have to lift my hips up. I'm holding with my other hand so the beer doesn't slip, and then I place that hand down. So now I'm really getting into the muscles that are supporting your shoulder blades and then supporting your neck. And then from there, wherever I am, if I want a little bit more, I can lift my arm up. But notice my hips are staying lifted. If your glutes get tired and your hamstrings get tired, just lower them down and then lift them right back up. You can circle that arm up like this. Feels really good. If I bring my arm over my head, I'm feeling the muscle all the way up the side of my neck and into the base of my skull on my one side. I feel that being released with this position. You play around with it and then you move down. Again, we're not rolling on the can, which is what most people would think would happen because they're so used to foam rolling. What we're doing is we're creating a trigger point or a pressure point right where that painful area is, and you just stay in that area and you can move your body around it without letting the can roll, and then lower down. Again, if you're finding any spot on your shoulder blade area, you don't want to be right on the bone of the scapula, but if you find an area that's tender, go ahead and stay there longer. I'm just showing you a lot of different options of what you can do when you're on your own and doing this. When you kind of are bored and you have a can of beer and you're like, you know what, my neck's hurting. You know what? I need another can. And then you lay down on the floor and you do that.
Could you do this in a chair?
No, that's a good question. Could you do it sitting in a chair? Possibly, but the chair would have to be harder because you need the benefit of the hardness from the floor, pressing up against the beer bottle against your body, right? So you need that pressure. It's the same reason why, like, you don't get the same support if you're laying in something that's soft. All right, last but not least, we're gonna work on this area of your arms. Now this one specific is for you, Tyler. He had a pin that was put into his wrist because he fractured the joint where the radius and ulna is, right there. And so this part of his arm is really tender, hurts. So this is great. If you do a lot with your hands, this is a really great way to release this forearm. So you're gonna take your arm and you're gonna just come to a kneeling position. So you can do it with the palm facing down first. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna roll that can away because I want to have some leverage. So I'm going to go here and I'm gonna press my top hand on top of my other hand. And then at the same time, I'm gonna take that same leg and reach it back. But I'm not dropping my knee, I'm gonna lift it up because I wanna get the leverage of me pressing back and me pressing down at the same time. Then you can change the position of your hand, right? So I'm gonna roll my wrist inward and press down into it. And then I'm gonna roll my wrist outward and press down into it. So the same thing we did with our calves, we're now doing with the forearm, right? Then you can move further down. So you're gonna do it on this side of the arm again. So move up a little bit further. Again, this leg is back, the leg on the same side the arm is. And you're gonna press the body weight down into the forearm on top of the beer can. And then I'm gonna flex my foot because that creates this oppositional pull of balance, pulling me backwards. And then I'm going to rotate my arm in slightly and repress. And then I'm gonna roll my arm out slightly and repress. Now, if your forearms are not tender or tight, you're not gonna really feel this. But mine tend to be because I do massages, right? So I'm a massage therapist, so they get tight. Now, let's do the other arm. Same positioning. So I'm going to show it to you from this direction. So here, my leg on that same side where the beer is going to go backwards. Then I'm going to press my arm down into it. My other hand comes on top, and I'm going to leverage my body weight over it, and then I shift back, stretching my calf as I'm pressing down into that forearm. Now this one I feel. Is this the one you feel?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Then you can roll the hand out slightly. Again, I'm using my top arm. This is how you do your own body work, your own self-massage, and drink a beer. Have a beer, have a ball, and then lift. But you don't have to go too much. Turn the arm in, because when you're doing these trigger point releases, you don't want to spend too much excessive time on one side or in one location, because then it will get sore and you won't realize that it released. It was just tender because it just spasmed out. Let's do one more. So slide the arm up a little bit more, right? I'm going to leverage my body weight forward towards it, take my hand, press down onto my arm. Then I'm going to bring my body weight back by flexing that ankle and pressing down.
Could you expand your hand and close down?
Yes, you could. You could open and close your hand here. That's a great point. So you could do this, and that will help with blood flow, first of all, and it slightly changes the muscle that you're pressing on. Turn the arm out slightly. What it does is it's causing that muscle to contract and to release over that pressure point. Then bring the hand and turn in slightly. You might not get a great amount of rotation. That's perfectly fine. But with that, you turn your body slightly and press. Good. And then come up. Now, the last portion of the massage for the arms, you're getting tired.
Yeah, it's good.
Is the outside part, or this above part. So what I would do is still on your knees, same concept, is to place that can of beer right down there on the forearm and press down. Same exact way, but now you're on the back side or the top side of the arm here. You're going to do the exact same idea. You're going to press the hand down, create that leverage. Make sure this back knee is not down, it's up. You push the body weight down, and then you shift the body weight back towards the calf slightly to create that leverage point. Right. And you can also bend and straighten that arm or that hand on that same arm. Then you can turn that arm in slightly. Same thing. You're just finding different ways to grab the muscle onto that can and create that leverage. So you're using your own bone and the beer can to create a trigger point release. Good. Switch and roll up a little bit higher. Again, you just want to make sure you're not sitting right on top of the joint like the elbow joint. So I'm going to have my arm facing up, press my hand down into the meaty part of the forearm, leverage my body right over top of it. Then I take my foot and I press backwards to create this nice oppositional positioning and balancing of that position. Then I'm going to rotate my arm in slightly, change my hand on top and press in. How's this feel?
Good.
Yeah, good. And then rotate the arm out. Again, I'm not spending a whole lot of time in one area at any point because I don't want to over press into an area, because if we release it and then we do too much for it, it will snap back because it doesn't want to be released to that degree. Let's do the back side of this last arm. So we're going to come back over top, palm faces up. Then you're going to press the hand down on there, reach that same leg back, as I almost fell, and you press down into the forearm and you flex that foot that's back and you push down onto that. Very nice. And you can bend in or open and close that hand as well. You have full control over how much pressure is going in there. If anyone's ever had a massage, turn that arm in, where it's been deep tissue, right? But they come out and they're like, that was too much. I couldn't handle it. The massage therapist was pressing too hard on me. Here's the cool thing with this. You have full control over how much that is. So turn the arm outward slightly. You have to kind of rotate your body to get it. And then in. Now I'm going to move my arm a little further up so the can is just below my elbow. And I'm going to press. I'm going to press my body down, my arm here, hand presses down, lift my back leg up, my body weight shifts on top of the beer can, and then I press my calf by pushing my heel backwards slightly. Very good. I turn my arm in slightly. I do it there. And then I turn my arm out slightly, and I do it there. I am so impressed with all of you guys for joining me for this whole week of our Get a Six Pack with a Six Pack workout. If you missed any of the other workouts from this week, they're all up on my YouTube channel. Feel free to go over there and watch them at any time. In addition to that, I've also uploaded additional content that's on there that you might have to scroll through to find. But those contents is about, between 5 and maybe 10 minutes long of little tidbits of useful tips and useful information. So I will see you guys tomorrow live at 4 and for a whole new series of workouts this coming week. Thanks guys so much. Take care.